Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, where today we are exploring the question no one but Hallmark answered anyway, which is, what if the NFL made Christmas movies? And somehow the answer was not, please don't. The answer was, absolutely, let's do 2 of them. I am your host, Nikki McKnight.
And I'm Meg Casebold.
And today we are joined by Buffalo Bills superfan. I don't know. She's got the merch on right now. Please welcome Sara Frandina to the show. Welcome,
Or
Sara.
maybe just like native Buffalonian
There we go.
was how I pitched it to Sara. Is like, you don't have to be Bills fan to be part of Bills Mafia. So Sara, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
So with that beautiful segue, I just want to talk about, our general experience with football and Hallmark. Because this movie is an interesting Venn diagram of the two, and some of the production history I find really interesting, which I'm sure I'm going to explain in my pop culture corner. But Meg, we'll start with you. NFL football and Hallmark movies. What is your experience or relationship with these things?
Okay, so I grew up in Rochester, New York. Sara and I actually met when she lived here and before she moved back to Buffalo. So I'll let you speak to that, Sara. But Rochester is very much Bills country. And so I grew up here. I was here for the 4 Super Bowls that we lost. It was formative to me.
Ooh, burn.
Like, you can get really close and still just like never get there. And that's like very much the approach that I've seen from Bills fans is like, we are so close and we're just, Scott Norwood's just going to kick a little bit out. You know, it's a cultural thing in Western New York to be like, maybe this year, no. Maybe this year, no. So you definitely saw that in there. But we're like maybe an hour and a half from Buffalo, depending on where you are. And my kid doesn't get homework on Mondays after the Bills win. So it's pretty serious here still. But I also, when I met my now husband, we met in November. He's from Wisconsin and like serious cheesehead. And we sort of made this pact when we started dating in January of 2010 that was like, and I was living in Boston. And so we made this pact that was like, okay, if you cheer for the Red Sox, I'll cheer for the Packers. It felt like a nice trade-off because I had 9 months to decide if I liked the guy enough, but he had to choose in time for pitchers and catchers. So that was our agreement 15 years ago. We're still holding strong to it. So we live in Bills country, but we are a Packers house.
Interesting.
My kids literally own stock of the Packers. So but there's not a rivalry between the Packers and the Bills. We're a very strong secondary Bills house because they're in different conferences. We still cheer on the Bills. But yeah, I would say that we are a Bills promoting house without being like the, light up the sky with Bills type of situation.
Yeah.
And then my Hallmark experience, 0%.
Was this your first Hallmark movie?
This was my first ever Hallmark movie. I literally went into Amazon. I bought the Hallmark free trial for 7 days. I canceled it before I started watching, and I am okay with that decision.
I love that. Sara, what about you? Experience NFL and Hallmark movies.
I'll start with Hallmark, which is precisely the same as Meg's. First Hallmark movie, I was so happy there was a free trial because I was like, would I sacrifice $7.99 for this? I would. But I'm very glad I don't have to. So
it's a write-off. This is content. It's for our businesses.
Hallmark really hates Buffalo right now because I can guarantee that that's most of what Buffalo did was just start a free trial and immediately cancel it.
Probably.
But yeah,
but like 10% of people forgot.
Yeah. You're right. There's that. But yeah, in terms of football, I mean, same. I grew up in Buffalo, so there's no escaping it. I wish I would have saved all the crew necks and Zubas that were bought during the Super Bowl years. Because those would be gold right now and probably still fit me because they were all adult size. Even though I was 5.
What are Zubas?
Oh, Zubas.
You know those pants that look like zebras, but they're in the colors of the team?
Oh, I saw an influencer on Instagram this week. She's traveling around to a bunch of like NFL stadiums and she's showing like what she's wearing, like the different layers. And I did see her wear those because she just did Buffalo.
Zubas are still big, but they were even bigger in the 90s. It was like a very early 90s thing. I had the Bills Zubas and I had the starter jacket.
Nice.
This is fascinating. Okay, I love that Zubas are a thing.
Yeah. So then, we went into our rebuilding years, which were really rebuilding decades. And then I
It's progress. It's all progress.
I met my husband at RIT in Rochester, but it turns out that his family is like a very big Bills family in terms of his dad worked for the Bills for the 90s. He led stadium operations for a while, and now he's actually helping build the new stadium.
He's basically a romance hero.
Oh my God.
Is what I'm hearing.
And,
Your father-in-law is gay.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. And then my husband tangentially works for the Bills in that he is on the field for every home game, lifting the nets for field goals and extra points because they haven't automated that yet.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. For me, the NFL, whatever, like, you know, my dad is a sports fan, but like he watches college ball more than I would say he watches NFL. And I'm just not interested in football. Like, it was never a sport that I followed. Even as a bad Canadian, I didn't really follow the NHL as much. Like, I used to go to Leafs games. You know, I went to a Sabres game a couple weeks ago. But again, I watched more junior hockey than I did anything. So the NFL, I'm like, I don't really care. And it's funny because I'm sure I knew the Buffalo Bills existed, but until I moved to the Niagara area, we are just across the border from Buffalo. I can get to Buffalo in probably 25 minutes. This is Bills country in a way that I did not know. The amount of times I have been out and about at the winery, at a restaurant, when there's a game, the number of people I look around and are watching the game on their phones is, I was shocked. But this is very much Bills country here, just across the border. It is like the Canadian North. And I think, you know, people like that because, one, it's much faster to get to Buffalo than it is to Toronto. But also the games are more affordable than trying to go see a Toronto Maple Leafs game or a Toronto Raptors game. Because not only are the tickets expensive, but parking in Toronto is a fucking nightmare. So nobody's going to that. They're like, we like football. Even I remember there was a game. And I guess this is something that happens a lot where fans volunteer to shovel out the stadium. And I remember there was a group of people from the Niagara region. They rented a coach bus to take a bunch of snow shovelers across the border to go shovel out the stadium. And I just thought that was interesting because, you know, my only real exposure to football was like I knew the Miami Dolphins because of the Ace Ventura movie. I knew Green Bay because they were the ones who wear cheese on their head. But that was kind of it. I don't watch football movies. I watch, you know, if you're going to watch any movies, it would be like baseball movies, like Major League, Angels in the Outfield, those types of things. So NFL, little experience. Hallmark, I have so much fucking experience. And I will say Hallmark also is just a catch-all for like made for TV because there's a lot of just like, you know, W Network, Hallmark, Netflix. They're all kind of in the same style. So I will use Hallmark as just kind of a catch-all, even if Hallmark Studios didn't specifically create them. But I have a very visceral memory of when my grandmother and my aunt, they lived out near us for like 2 years or so. And their holiday tradition was they would print out the Hallmark release guide and circle the movies they wanted to watch. And Hallmark would be releasing like 3 to 5 new films every single day.
Oh my
and
God.
They would watch a lot of them. So I definitely grew up watching made-for-TV Christmas movies. I've seen a lot of them. And I still enjoy watching like the Netflix versions of them. This is the first Hallmark productions I've seen in quite a while, and I have thoughts and I have feelings on this because it's very much a different tone compared to everything else. So that is a little bit of history for all of us. So today we are going to be talking about the latest Hallmark NFL co-production, which is called Holiday Touchdown: A Bills Love Story. And as I said in the opener, this is actually the second film that Hallmark has done with the NFL. Last season, it was Holiday Touchdown: A Chiefs Love Story. Clearly,
it even mimicked the title. Okay.
Yeah. This is a series.
series.
They're establishing
It is a
a
series.
Holiday Touchdown cinematic universe.
So how much of the choosing of the Chiefs last year, and I don't know if you did this research, Nikki, was Travis Kelce?
I feel
Taylor
like that was a
Swift?
lot of it. So I did look up a couple statements because as soon as I saw that it was a co-prod with the NFL, that they were involved in it, I was curious, like, one, why did they do this? And two, what involvement did they have in the process? So what I was able to find was basically just, you know, the nice media statements on the NFL is so happy. You take two big brands and you find commonality between them. You expand the power of both brands, like the vice president of like content development, I think, for the NFL. was talking about how one of the themes that comes from the NFL is belonging. You belong to your team. You belong to a sport. You develop. There you go. Sarah's got like that merch on. Like
property of Buffalo,
right?
too,
Like you
Bills,
develop a parasocial relationship with the players. And they said like Hallmark is kind of the same way. You're a fan of Hallmark movies. You're a fan of the storytelling framework. You have your favorite actors. And what's very common for Hallmark specifically is a lot of actors only work for Hallmark. So that's why it's funny when you start seeing multiple of these movies and multiple Christmas movies. You're like, oh, this person has been in 10 Christmas movies, all playing a small town, small shop owner. What's his name in this one? It's a little bit
Please
different.
tell me that the hot bartender is in other movies.
He is.
Because
we looked him up.
Jen
and I looked him up because we were wondering, because he kind of looked like someone famous, though we thought like maybe he was a bigger name. He's just worked exclusively in Hallmark, like not exclusively, but like he has like 90 film credits on IMDb, and I would bet you 60 of them are Hallmark. So I was like, you know what? Booked and busy. Good for you. So it was funny because
get yourself
exactly,
paid, man.
And I do think the first one being the Chiefs love story, the Chiefs love story one is not at all related to like singer and so it's not like a Taylor Swift Kelsey thing. It's still very much small town super fans who own a Chiefs store, like Chief merch, and and head of fan experience for the Chiefs. But when they really were talking about why they decided to do this is they looked at like the audience, which at that point, I think they saw a huge swing in young girls and young women getting involved in the NFL. So why the fuck wouldn't you create a romance movie?
Yeah.
This is an opportunity. And then to follow it up with Buffalo. So the NFL is involved in helping select the teams, obviously giving access to the stadium. Both films, both the Chiefs and the Bills one, are filled with players. They're filled with coaches. They're filled with popular figures from both of, I'll call it the fandoms. So that's really where the NFL came to play. But you know they made bank on that Chiefs one because people were probably like, are we going to see Kelsey? You don't. You see other players, but you do see Coach Andy. That's his name, right? I think that's the coach's name. But same thing with the Bills one. The coach is there. A lot of the players are there. The only one I recognized was Damar Hamlin. But yeah, that's kind of, they were like, this is a money-making opportunity for us and good increased budget for Hallmark. So.
Okay, and here's my like limited knowledge of the NFL coming through from just like living with a super fan and accidentally listening to lots of fantasy football podcasts while he cooks dinner. And also like a super fan who's also a fan of a small market team. So there are so many teams in the NFL that don't have loyalty. There are a lot of teams like Vegas where they just moved from Oakland to Vegas because it's cheap to fly into Vegas, and Vegas gave them money for a stadium, but nobody is a Las Vegas Raiders fan because it's like Vegas is just a transient town. Versus, especially a lot of these small market teams like the Bills, like the Packers, and that's why I hear about it ad nauseum. These people travel. These people are really loyal fans. And there are studies that have been done, or like not like studies, but like loyalty tracking, where it's like Bills fans, Packers fans, they have some of the smallest geographic areas that they're represented. However, they have some of the largest traveling fan bases. So if you go to a Bills game in LA, there's going to be a ton of Bills fans there because there are Bills fans all over the country. And if they come, you know, if you live in LA because you're like, I do not want to live in Buffalo, thank you very much.
Choices.
But I live in California. Yeah, I want to go see the Bills play and I'll play in California. And Ben and I used to go to Packers games back before we had kids and we had disposable income. And we would go to Packers games. We went to one in New England. We went to one in Washington before they renamed their team. We went to one in against the Giants in Jersey. And it was like during that run of games, it was over the course of 4 years. We went to one a year and they lost 5 games total. And we were at 4 of them. And we stopped going to Packers games.
You were the bad luck for
absolutely.
the team, clearly.
So much superstition.
You jinxed everybody.
But we were New Yorkers who lived... who wanted to cheer for the Packers. I've never been to a game at Lambeau because it's expensive to get there. It's expensive to buy the seats. They're high demand, but we would go there. And I think that's also probably one of the reasons they chose the Bills, which is how I'm getting back to my point here. For this is because Bills fans are everywhere. They travel. They're super loyal. So like, Sarah, can you talk to us a little bit about like growing up in Buffalo Bills Mafia country. And I don't think it was always called Bills Mafia. Like, I don't even know when that started.
I don't know the origin of that either. And I don't truly love it. But
Me neither. It feels very condescending in a way, but it's like very well said.
Yes.
Well branded.
Yes. But it's funny because I went from Buffalo to Rochester, which is really no different in terms of Bills country, like you said. But then we moved to Boston. And we lived in Cambridge, which is also very transient. It's a lot of Harvard, MIT, like people that are there temporarily, either for school or they're working at the schools. Because we do own a lot of Bills gear. I mean, my husband, his wardrobe is supplied by the Bills every year when he gets, when the season starts. So he is always in a hat or a shirt or like the blue NFL shorts, whatever. So he's always got some Bills paraphernalia on. And everywhere in Cambridge, we'd get and it's always a subtle, "Go Bills. Go Bills." And it's just like that subtle nod of like, I see you. Like, I'm with you. But we got that in Sydney, Australia. We got that on a cruise, like a fjord cruise in New Zealand. Like, it does not matter where you are. Somebody will give you that subtle "Go Bills." And you're just like, yes, like walking through every airport I've ever been in. Like, there's always a Bills fan. And similarly, like, yes, every away game has a huge Bills fan contingency. But then there's always a Bills bar. Like, all you have to do is say, like, I'm in Nashville during a Bills game. What bar is the Bills bar? You'll find it. So it's every city, too.
Oh, I love that. That was something else I found when I was just kind of looking up the NFL statements. And the reason why they chose the Chiefs that they publicly said, I think, is they were trying to capitalize on Swift and Kelsey. But they said they really had to choose teams that had a culture to talk about, right? You're not going to pick the Las Vegas Raiders or whatever they're. For a movie like this, they don't have enough of a culture. So things like snow shoveling at the stadium, those stripy suits, what are they called? Zubas?
Zubas.
The Zubas, the Bills Mafia, the Go Bills, because that Go Bills thing that you say to everybody happens multiple times in this movie. So they do have a very clear team culture that helps kind of flesh out their version of a small town romance, which is funny to me that they made this seem like a small town romance, but it's Buffalo. Buffalo is not a small town.
Well, that's why they honed in on East Aurora. They picked like the small town of Buffalo, which is not representative of Buffalo.
You mean all of Buffalo is not like that? When I drive across the border and I drive through the places that are different, that's not like those countries. Okay. Before we keep going to the discussion, I want to give a quick summary of this film because the plot is deep and complex.
And so boring.
Yeah. So, okay. Buffalo Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story, follows two friends and neighbors and huge Bills fans, Morgan and Gabe. They live near Highmark Stadium, and they're teaming up to find this secret benefactor for Morgan's uncle. And surprise, he's been in love with her the whole time, and she's just oblivious as fuck. So Morgan is a doctor. Gabe is head of new stadium development for the new Bills stadium that is being built. And they learn from Morgan's uncle, played by Joe Pantoliano, who I was so shocked to see here, that when he was drafted into Vietnam, some mysterious benefactor took care of his family, made sure they had food and money. And then when he came back from Vietnam, and every year since then, so we're going on 50, 60 years, he has received some sort of anonymous token on Christmas ornaments and the like. So Morgan and Gabe say, hey, you know what would be really cool? What if we helped our uncle, Joey Pantoliano, find out who this secret benefactor is? Wouldn't that be a great surprise? Because he's so lovely. By the way, Morgan's dad died. Of course, she's getting reverse Disney princess. And her uncle took her and her family in because, single mom, 5 kids with Joey Pants's family. And then now you've got, no dead dad. What are we going to do? And like, let's be nice and, surprise our gracious, loving uncle with the name of his benefactor. And all the while, Gabe is trying to get up the nerve to confess to Morgan that he's been in love with her the whole time. Buffalo Bills, a Bills love story. So I know y'all have feelings on this because this is your first Hallmark film. What'd you think?
Oh, and the sister ate a lot of hot sauce until she stopped eating hot sauce. Oh, yeah. There's no reason. Yeah, well, right? There were just...
No, she was pregnant.
So many side plots.
Yeah, she was pregnant and she wanted... So the other plot line in here is that every year the family takes a group family photo at the stadium during the holiday game. And her sister, who is pregnant, is concerned that she will give birth too close to the game, that she will not be able to go for the family photo, and this will be the last family photo at this stadium. So that's also like a rush around the clock. So there is a point where she's like chugging hot sauce and doing weird breathing to try and bring on labor. And then as they get closer to the game, she's actually like, I need to stop labor. I can only now have this baby after the football game.
Literally no pregnant woman has ever said that. In history. Sarah, back me up. Like, nobody is like, I am 40 weeks pregnant, don't want to have the baby now.
Definitely want to go to the Bills Stadium at 40 weeks pregnant. Yes. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, definitely want to be surrounded by people who I don't know, who are all drunk, and I can't drink, and I want to be cold.
In December.
That's definitely how I want to spend my very, very... Oh, and the seat's definitely not going to be big enough for this belly. Nope. That's where I want to be.
Why would you not want to be surrounded by tens of thousands of screaming fans in the cold? Okay, I want to talk about our main characters, Morgan and Gabe. Morgan's not like other girls, y'all. She likes football too much. Because when we first meet her...
She stands, and she has a Bills ribbon in her hair. She stands when she watches the game. She's not like other girls.
She slams the table.
Because she has emotions. So the movie starts with her out on a date, and they're in a bar. Her date's back is to the TV, and he's telling this story, and she's not paying attention. She's very much only paying attention to the game. And he's like, are you listening? And she's like, I'm just watching the game. And he's like, I don't think there's a connection here. And she's like, go Bills!
But then she eyes that bartender, and that's where I thought we were going. Like
that's where I thought we were going.
Okay, thank you.
I thought the bartender was going to play a bigger role in this, at least maybe as like a date or as like a something for Gabe to get jealous of. But this did not happen. So with Morgan, she's not like other girls, y'all. She likes football. One of the things that drives me insane about both the Chiefs and the Bills movie, but also just sports movies in general, is when you have actors and background talent being told to react to what's happening on a screen. Because they're all like, yeah, good, like big arms, big head movements. Nobody fucking watches sports like this.
Nikki, I think maybe the next time you're in Nashville, you should say, where is the closest Bills bar?
Oh my God.
I do actually think that people do watch the game like that.
Okay, Sarah, what thoughts? Is the arm movement this big?
Okay, first off, that entire bar would be high-fiving each other if there was an interception or a touchdown. Like, that actually... Was this over the top? Of course it was. But, like, that was a legit... Like, that would be the energy of the bar. Yes.
This is horrifying to me.
Yeah, no, if you go to and if you're in Buffalo and the game's on, it's going to be like that. But I think anytime that you go to a Bills bar anywhere in the country, like I have friends who, like one of them grew up in Rochester and one of them grew up somewhere else, and they met at a Bills bar and now they're married because they got to know each other so well, just like high-fiving each other the whole time and being really into the game. Like, this is actually a meet cute for realsies.
Yeah. I did watch that opening scene and thought, I'm not going to make it through the rest of this movie, though, even though that was representative of...
Yeah, Meg.
See, I was fine with that scene.
Yeah.
It was once they started tracking down this like secret receipt that I was like, I'm done. I'm out. This like mystery that doesn't matter. I couldn't care less about. But I was fine with all the sports thing.
Sports thing. Yeah. So like that opening scene for me was like, this sounds, because I do background sometimes for TV, mostly TV, and one of the things you're told when your background is, one, do not draw attention to yourself. Like, don't be too big, don't be too whatever, because you're just there to fill in the background. But also, you don't make noise. You know, you lip sync, you mouth things, you kind of gesture. And some productions I have worked on, some of the extras don't get that memo, and they are like the biggest thing. And then the AD has to come over and be like, you need to go to the back of this group. Thanks. We're just going to rearrange some things, and you're going to come up here. Because they get real crazy. And that's what I thought when I was looking at this. I was like, oh my God, these are like, did they get the local theater kids to come in and fill out background here? Because holy smokes.
Maybe, but I think they were pretty on point there.
This is saddening to me.
I think they did what they were told. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I think
Yay,
I think
sports.
you either... Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, maybe I think if you go to a Canadian bar during a hockey game, that's how they'll behave too. I don't think that this is specifically to like American
They will
football.
when a goal is scored or when there's something, like an interception type of deal. But otherwise, they're just chatting and being like, "Oh yeah, it's a good pass," and then okay. This one felt like everybody at this bar was dialed up to 11 when they were just like on the line doing like their hut thing. Everybody's like, "This is the best hut we've ever seen." It's like they're not doing anything. They're in a commercial break. Yeah, like
Just gotta let some energy out,
it's fine.
We're buying Labatt Blue Light. God damn it! I need a truck.
So okay.
So by the way, we don't watch like live TV ever except for football. Like maybe 3 times a year when the game's on at the right time and the kids are home and it's not after they go to bed. And at one point, the older kid was like, "I thought we were watching football. Why are there so many trucks?"
Oh man. Okay. So now I want to talk about Gabe because y'all, I was actually really offended here because Gabe is played by Matthew Daddario, whom I love as an actor. Like him on Shadowhunters is flawless.
So he's not primarily Hallmark.
No, he is like I won't say A-list, but he's like a B-list Hollywood actor. And I was like, dude, what home renovation were you paying for that you needed this paycheck? Like, oh my God. And what I loved is when they introduced him as an adult, because the families know each other and it's great. We've been going to Bill's getting in. There was a line, I think this was Morgan that said this to him, was, "I can't believe you're in charge of the new stadium development."
That's literally how they gave most of the context. Like that opening, after the opening scene at the bar, when they transition and she's walking into the home, her Uncle Tommy's home. Mm-hmm. The first time I watched it, because I'm not used to watching movies or shows where the setup is we're just going to announce in the dialogue everything that you need to know. Yes. I was like overwhelmed. I'm like, wait a minute. I have to write this down because I'm like, wait, who's what? This is an uncle. This is a neighbor. Is this a cousin? And then the second time I did rewatch that scene, and I was just like, oh no, this is how they do it. This is how.
The exposition
like,
dumping.
I am here with the lights because I am the next door neighbor and we put the lights up together. So we should go outside to our joint yard and put up the lights. And Gabe, why don't you help me? Because you are my son and you are going to help me put up the lights.
It just reminds me of, oh, hello, the police? That's who you are. And it's that type of exposition dumping, which I get because this is actually, and Hallmark has always done this because it's done for expediency. A lot of times in film, you talk about like you want to show, not tell, because it makes it richer, it makes it more believable. This style is really tell, don't show. Yeah, I can't believe you're head of the stadium development. You are my neighbor. It's been 60 years, and on and on and on, which I think is hilarious. But it's also what has become known as like the Netflixization of film, because something, and I was going to bring this up in our I think in a Heated Rivalry episode, because this has been actually a compliment of Heated Rivalry as a show, is when we talk about like the Netflixization, it's happened elsewhere, but go with me here, is that filmmakers and production companies who make content for things like Hallmark, like Netflix, they assume that the audience is going to be doing other things at the same time. So the characters have to announce what they're doing because they assume that I'm cooking, I'm folding laundry, I'm on my computer. So that's why you'll have characters say things like, "Oh, you're making spaghetti." I don't have to look at the screen to know they're making spaghetti, which is what they don't do in Heated Rivalry. They make you actually have to pay attention to what's on the screen because they are very much in a show, don't tell. Whereas this style is very tell, don't show. "Hi, you were here. I'm a single mom and had 5 kids and my son had to go to Vietnam." Like, it is challenging when you're not used to that style to just be like, this is like an exposition dump. They're just talking.
Yeah, but like a repetitive exposition dump. Like I wish I should probably go look up the screenplay and like search for the number of times that Morgan was like, "Uncle Joe, you took us in after my dad died."
You should really reread it because it was Uncle Tommy.
Yeah, the actor is Joe Pantoliano, but yeah, Uncle Tommy.
You were calling him Joe Pants.
Yeah, it's Joey Pants is how I refer to that actor, is Joey Pantoliano. Yeah, it is funny.
I'm just here in my head reyunning the "Oh Hello" and being like, "Raccoons." You completely lost me because I'm now in that zone.
Yeah, okay, but like Gabe, you're head of new stadium development for the Buffalo Bills. What a great guy.
And I am a pediatrician who the only thing that I have done in this entire thing is hold someone's hand and talk about the bills when they get their blood drawn
On my
and
day
get
off.
time off from the hospital.
Yeah, on my day off. Yeah.
The hospital just gave me the time off.
Yeah.
The hospital did.
No.
Like,
But also, like, I really like, again, I like Dario as an actor. And honestly, for what Gabe is, he was probably my favorite part of the film because I felt like he at least was self-aware that this was ridiculous. But him being in love with Morgan this whole time, it was obvious, clearly. I love a he falls first. I'm so into that as a trope. But Morgan's borderline obliviousness to Gabe being in love with her was almost insulting to the audience and to her as a character. I'm sorry, you dumb bitch. Look at him.
That was, I mean, just like the lack of eye contact, or she'd be like intentionally looking away. And I was just like, come on. Like, this would not be a moment where she would not be looking at him. Like, they're just.
yeah. And like, then her sister, 2 times, separate times, both when they're cooking and at the bar, she's like, so Gabe seems to like you, wink, wink. And she's like, no. Okay, but do you want something to happen with Gabe? No, he doesn't feel that way. So it wasn't even just like oblivious. It was straight up denial. And then finally he confesses and she's like staring at him like it's brand new information. And I'm like, you're a fucking
And
doctor.
then walked away.
Did you not pay attention to anything that your patients are telling you? Did you miss everything about like picking up nonverbal cues?
Yeah,
and then walking away, Sarah, just like, I will not acknowledge that this information happened.
Yeah, dumb bitch was what I kept thinking about Morgan. This is a commentary on the screenplay, not on the actor herself. But yeah, so one of the things I often think about when there is this he falls first, she's kind of oblivious, never to this level, is I love it when the side characters kind of come in, to your point, Meg, like the sister, Gabe's
Those
friends
3
from
friends.
work.
Yeah.
And there's like that running joke that all the players that they encounter, like Gabe at some point has the players come to the hospital to hang out with kids, which I thought was really sweet. I love it when celebrities or athletes do that kind of things for kids. I'm like, oh, this is just nice. But, you know, we get to see a sweet moment with children being happy. But all of the players, because they run into several like alumni players, like old school veterans, they run into some of the newer players, and all of them keep going, yeah, it's obvious. You should really tell her. He's so into her. And then when they do kiss, I think at the end, one of them goes, oh, finally. Like, I did actually kind of enjoy that. Like, it's almost like a Greek chorus coming in. Like, he likes her, she doesn't know. And then it happens. So I did enjoy that that's how they incorporated a lot of the players into it, to just point out that she's being stupid. Stupid.
Yeah.
And they kept interrupting too.
Yes.
So they kept using that. And that's the other reason why I'm like, this was an hour and 27 minutes. It could have been 45.
You're like, this could have been an extended TV show.
I would have taken one episode of Heated Rivalry. I could have watched in the time that I could have watched this movie at 1.5 speed.
But they had to make one more trip back to Vidler's. Just one more trip, then one more trip.
Yeah, apparently
then one
that's
more
also
trip.
a real place.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
Vidler's
Yeah,
5
Sarah,
and
talk
Dime.
about Vidler's.
Yeah,
So
talk about Vidler's.
everything in East Aurora was legit. Was absolutely legit. It's just funny that they honed in on East Aurora, because it's 25 minutes from the stadium. Like, it's not a hop, skip, and a jump. It's 35 minutes from Oshai, where she apparently worked. Like, they made it seem like this was, like, the hub of Buffalo, and everything was just right there. And I'm like, that's not true
No,
at
that's
all.
the picturesque white people side of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah, my mom makes a pilgrimage to Vidler's every year to do Christmas shopping for us. And then I get a bunch of stocking stuffers that are like, look, it's hot chocolate that's banana flavored. And I'm like, cool, here's my trash can.
Yeah. So Vidler's comes into the film because as they decide that they're going to do this thing for Uncle Joey, Uncle Tommy, Joey Tom, Uncle Tommy,
Tom Joe.
Tojo. They
Jojo.
find one of the original ornaments that was sent, and they're like, this Christmas ornament has the Vidler's name on it. And this ornament has a serial number, y'all. Because I guess handmade ornaments all had their own serial number back in
Not a thing.
back in the Vietnam War era. So they realize it's from Vidler's. They go to Vidler's 5 and Dime, and they talk to one of the workers there who turns out to be something like a Mrs. Claus. This was confusing to me. But she's like, well, we don't have those receipts because that was 50 years ago. But you know what? Up in our attic, we might still have those paper receipts. And then the plot becomes them going back and forth to the attic in Vidler's to try and find the receipt. And then they find the receipt, but the name is missing. And they try to make out the name of the road and on and on. Surprise, they find out who it is. It's great. But the biggest thing that struck me during every time they're in like this attic of Vidler's is why are all the Christmas decoration lights on?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, like they're sitting at a table going through all these receipts and like a reindeer is twinkling in the background and like an archway and like stars.
Obviously, Mrs. Claus thought they needed some holiday festivities up there.
You are so right. She was trying to set the mood,
She is
Sarah.
definitely a little matchmaker. That was like a little meddling matchmaker grandma moment. We didn't know it because it wasn't a clear grandma. But then once we saw her as Mrs. Claus in the stands at the end, we were like, oh, she's been trying to push them together. In that
But at first, she was
grandma
very
trope.
much like, I can't help you. It's just like, oh.
It's not until Morgan's like, but Uncle Tommy Joey Joe
Let me tell this story for the 4th time.
In case you missed it the last 4 times that I talked about, my dad died and he took us in.
My Uncle Tommy took us in. He was in Vietnam.
His 18-year-old friend, who he's actually in love with, supported my family the entire time I was in the war.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny too.
But she doesn't want to know about it, so we're just going to do it on the field in front of 50,000
I love
people.
when they started that on the field. It was the salute to service, which is real. But she actually had to start it by saying, I know this isn't normal for the salute to service. It's like, yeah, no. Pete's like, yeah, that's usually 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That is, you walk on the field, you walk
There's a
off
wave,
the
there's
field.
like a little jumbotron. I've seen that because I love like military reunions with either families or dogs. So I've seen salute to service type
Yeah,
style
no
things.
people, just dogs.
Yeah.
I want like a German shepherd waiting that just like jumps
No.
into the arms
love it.
of the returning veteran.
Yeah. So it's funny with that Mrs. Claus type character because there's also a Santa. And this Santa is not your holly jolly Santa. I saw someone online call this keto Santa because he's tall and lean. He's also in the Chiefs version of it as a mysterious Santa.
Oh.
So he is.
See, I thought that
he's a
the
legacy
way that
character.
you were like, Morgan is not just a regular girl. This is not just a regular Santa. This is a cool Santa.
I mean, he had a
Santa.
legit wink. That wink was magical.
It was a wink solid. Yeah. So he and Mrs. Claus, I guess, sitting in the stands at the end of the game. I was like, oh, were they magical, or was he just pretending to be a wise old like so and so? But I guess he shows up in the first one, and
people.
He's more magical in the first, in the Chiefs version. It involves a lost lucky hat, and he returns the hat. On and on. So that was pretty funny to me. That was a weird.
Was the lucky hat less expository stretch than we have a receipt that might have an address on it?
I will say that the Chiefs movie to me felt a little less corny. But there was still it is that repetitive exposition. Like that's like, I don't know how many times we heard about, I can't go to the game because we lost our lucky hat. The fans will hate us. We're going out for fan of the year. Are we going to win fan of the year? What if the fans turn on us because we were fan of the year? It continues. It was a lot. Okay. It was a lot. I do want to talk about Joe Pantoliano though. Uncle Tommy. For me, he was the bright and shining spot in this movie, which is funny to me because Joe Pantoliano, I know him best as the bad guy from The Matrix. He was Cypher in The Matrix. Oh. So I just always think of him as that. In some ways, I keep mistaking him for Hector Elizondo, who's always in the Gary Marshall movies, like as the officious manager of some sort. But I really thought he was sweet in this. Like when he was talking about his time in Vietnam and how this person like really helped take care of his family, I was like, I'm actually a little bit moved by this performance. This is so kind of him. So I like Joe Pantoliano.
Yeah, I'm looking at his IMDb filmography right now, and he was in Chucky. Yep. He was in Memento.
He did look familiar.
He was in The Fugitive, Dexter. Mm-hmm. Like, he's done a lot of dark shit, and then it's, like, all dark, and then there's one SpongeBob and Holiday Touchdown.
Yeah, I love this. Maybe he had a home renovation that he needed to fund, or maybe he's just like, I'm too old. I don't have time for stunts and big Hollywood pictures anymore. I just want to go shoot in Buffalo.
For Hallmark.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. This film starts off with a big screen saying, this film is rated G. Both of these touchdown holiday films from Hallmark and most Hallmark films are rated G for general audiences. And as I watched, I was like, this is such a drastic change from the last show I watched, which was Heated Rivalry. It was rated G. So that means like there's no cursing, there's no like nudity of any kind, there's no drug use of any kind. Alcohol being shown on screen is limited. Like, this was G. It felt like a return to a more innocent time, where the world was pure. Hallmark. Very Christian coded, which makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, I shipped that trilogy over the past couple episodes where it was like it was a Hallmark coded movie, but then the pornography studio came in and started bringing in their own actors. That was the Sierra Simone Julie Murphy trilogy, and I was thinking about that actually a lot, especially the last book in that series. There's they're writing a screenplay. I can't remember the name of the channel for that, the Hope Channel. I think it's called the Hope Channel. They're writing a screenplay for it, and one of the strippers at the North Pole, which is the strip club, tells them this story about this like post office worker who got stuck in a snowstorm and then like went to someone's house and ended up marrying that woman, and that was their meet cute or whatever. And even in that book, which was very well written, they had to like uncover the mystery of who the post office worker was, and I was like, I could skip this entire part. Turns out I just don't like these like cozy mysteries that are set romances. Like, that is not an interesting plot line to me of like, let's team up and solve the mystery together and fall in love. Like, it just doesn't do it for me, especially if the mystery is like kind of not, oh no, he's gonna die, not knowing who did this thing for him, and he was fine with that for 50 years, but we have to find out because my dad died. Did you know my dad died? Uncle Tommy took us in. He needs to know. And then finally they figure it out, and she just gives up. And Gabe is like, oh, but the Bills never give up. I'm like, oh, okay.
The amount of tropes they brought in, just like, it just felt like they were just trying to beat you over the head with like Buffalo and Bills stuff. And I get it that was the target market for it, but it was painful. It was a little bit painful.
Can I tell y'all how much this movie reminded me of how the WWE makes films?
I would love to hear this comparison.
So WWE has its own film production studio, and they have for many, many, many years. Because the WWE essentially would make these films, and they would cast their wrestlers in it. So if you've ever seen things like The Rundown or Walking Tall or The Scorpion King, all with The Rock, WWE was involved in those productions. And before John Cena really made it big as an actor, they had him in a WWE produced movie called like The Marine. And then, you know, Roman Reigns was in a bunch. Stone Cold Steve Austin was in a bunch. I think Hulk Hogan was in the first one. Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because, you know, WWE is sports entertainment. NFL is like, we're sports, but really there's broadcast packages, there's rivalries, there's characters. A lot of the WAGs now are involved in the culture and kind of the behind the scenes things. You know, talk to Alexa Martin, you know, about her experience as a WAG and the books she's written. Like, NFL very easily translates into cinematic storytelling, which I think is really funny because NFL is pulling romance-hungry Hallmark viewers into NFL storylines. And then same thing with the WWE. It's like, how do we have, you know, people who love the WWE also go pay for a movie ticket? Because they already pay for pay-per-view. So getting them to pay for a movie ticket is very, very easy, and it allows the reach to show up. And then you get something like, this wasn't a WWE production, but Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw had The Rock in it. A lot of the people that The Rock brought in to play his Samoan brothers were wrestlers from the WWE who were also Samoan, Tongan, you know, of a similar cultural background to him, that he, like Roman Reigns played one of his brothers in that movie. So I just thought that was really interesting, that how both NFL and WWE leverage storylines and personas to then go make money in movies, which probably women will watch. So I just found that really entertaining to be like, is the NFL like the WWE, but way more G-rated? Because the WWE movies are not G-rated at all.
I bet they're not.
No. Go.
I want to ask Sarah, as like a voracious reader, professional copywriter, Oh, guys, Sarah is the reason that when I actually publish my books, there aren't a bunch of typos in them. So those of you who are my ARC readers listening and you're like, I have read Meg's books and they are full of the wrong comma splices and the Oxford comma is inconsistent. But then when you read them and they're actually published, they're correct. Sarah is the reason why.
I did not know that. That's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah's my copy editor. So at the very end, 3 days before things go live, I get this usually 8 to 18 page document of like, ooh, do we have to capitalize realtor?
For the record, that was
All
an
the questions.
accidental copy editor because you just included me in your ARC reader for like, I think it was your first release. And I was like,
I think it was Peppermint Bark, yeah.
Do you want notes?
We stand a consent copywriter.
I can't not notice it. So, as somebody who has a meticulous attention to detail and who loves a good romance, what were you thinking with this big, heavy, exposition-heavy screenplay?
I mean, it just felt too forced. Like, it was hard to get into the story because it felt like they were forcing too many elements to come in. And the repetition killed me. Like, I know you liked that, like, the alumni players and even the players when they were with the kids at the hospital, like, were like, oh, he's so into her. Oh, when's he gonna tell her? But, like, that was overdone in every other way. And so it just felt a little too forced. I also think being from Buffalo, you're looking at it a little bit differently, where I'm like, the drinks don't come out there at Elm Street Bakery. Like, if they were getting a drink, there's a little bar behind it. You ordered the drink there, the drink comes out behind. Like, anybody that's been in Elm Street Bakery knows that. They didn't get that right because they had to stage that whole scene with Andre Reed and Scott Norwood and Thurman Thomas. So it was like stuff like that where I just felt like I was a little distracted because of that. But also, I mean, I just finished the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and like the depth of that, and then you're like watching this and you're like, we can't compare. And I like depth, and this did not have that. So I started the free trial of Hallmark Plus or whatever, and I'm like, well, maybe while I have it, I'll watch some other movies. I finished this movie, I scrolled, I was like, we're good here. We are good here.
This has served what its value has been. We checked the box.
Yes.
It's off the bucket list.
Yeah.
You can say you've done it.
Yeah.
We have a record of proof. We have a receipt that was slightly rubbed out over the last 50 years.
With an Ornaments serial number on it.
One day we'll create a mystery and then we'll solve it.
Okay, do we have anything else we want to say about Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story?
I want to finish a thought that I had earlier, which is like the most rabid fandoms in the NFL, and I maybe do like a light prediction of which football team is going to get next year's.
Yeah, because clearly they have
touchdown.
to do a third one.
Yeah, so I found this list of the top fandoms in the NFL, ranked by who God knows what. But I'm going to give you the top 5, which is number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. Totally tracks. Number 4, Dallas Cowboys. Number 3, Buffalo Bills. Number 2, Green Bay Packers. And number 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Oh, I could see them doing an Eagles ones because there's snow in Philadelphia.
Yeah, there's enough snow that they will throw snowballs at Santa Claus. The problem is everyone else who wants to watch the game who will be like, man, these Phillies fans are obnoxious. That would be the problem with doing like I lived in Philadelphia for 3 years. I went to college in Philadelphia. The minute I graduated, I was like, I'm good.
No, I think they need to do the Eagles because then Jason Kelsey can come out of retirement and do a cameo with no shirt on. Like that's what needs to happen for the Eagles. Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear about that like robot that traveled the world as a helping people, and it made it like all the way through South America and it made it all the way up through the American South, and then it got to Philly and people took baseball bats to it. Like that's just Philly. And so like the fandom is rabid, but they're also like maybe a little on the aggressive side.
Maybe they need to find
the Hallmark tie-in maybe isn't the right move for that.
No, just watch. They're gonna have to find whatever like that is. It East Aurora is the name of this section of Buffalo. They're just gonna have to find the East Aurora 1 block radius in Philly that they can make and make Hallmarkable.
Oh, they'll just go up the main line. They'll go up to where the rich people live.
I would like the Eagles. I don't like San Francisco and Dallas. I need snow. I need snow for a Christmas one. Otherwise, I was like, why bother? And for Dallas, we've got like America's Sweethearts or Making the Team if you watched it back in the CMT days. We don't need that.
No, number 6 is the Steelers. Steelers would be great on this.
Pittsburgh,
Giants is 7.
Giants.
Cleveland Browns would be fantastic because they do not have a winning track record. Vegas Raiders came up 9th, which is
weird.
surprising to me. And then the Ravens are number 10. So there's your nice backwards round. I went 5 to 1 to 6 to 10.
Right. I didn't.
Totally
I
good
didn't
storytelling.
But the Chiefs weren't even on that list, were they?
No, I literally think they
were
just chose
not.
the Chiefs because of Taylor and Travis.
I completely, because when
Yeah,
you're talking about fandoms, like I don't even think the Chiefs can compare to Buffalo. So if you were gonna start based on that, like Buffalo makes sense. But they were
And the
totally
Chiefs have
capitalizing
won
on
several.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Chiefs have won Super Bowls.
Yeah, especially
right?
the
So
last couple.
You have the bandwagon fans.
And that's something they actually bring up in the Kansas City Chiefs holiday touchdown film. Because part of the plot involves this lucky hat that the main character's grandfather wore forever, and every time a family member wears it on Christmas, the Chiefs win. The Chiefs get to the Super Bowl that year. So they talked about, I don't remember the years the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They're like, 2019, we wore it. 2020, we wore it. 23, 24. And one of the characters was, well, they didn't make it in 2021. And they're like, well, we don't talk about it. Turns out later it's because their granddad had a heart attack and nobody wore the hat that year.
Nobody wore the hat.
So like they do kind of bring it up. And so I think in addition to Travis and Taylor probably being a big impetus behind why they chose the Chiefs, I think it's also like they've won their Super Bowl recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think you do have a lot of bandwagon fans, but you don't have the loyal, so it's not going to show up on a list like this. Like when I lived in Boston, that was one of the years they won the World Series, and so the Bostonians would call them the Pink Hats because it was like real Boston fans would never wear a pink hat, but that's like the breast cancer fundraiser had the, so it was like very much the loyal fans of the Cleveland Browns who have not won in a gazillion years are going to be taken more seriously than the bandwagon fans of, oh, but maybe we'll see Taylor at the game.
Yeah, or like we look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967. So there's a lot of fair weather Toronto Maple Leafs fans. And then
but I wonder if there's going to be more Jays
I
fans
was gonna
because
say-
they made it to the World
the
Series. this year.
the Jays have been getting huge for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Like they won the World Series like back in 92 and 93, and then but it's funny. Quick sidebar about the Blue Jays is when I was still living in Toronto, it's probably 10, 15 years ago, the Jays, like the Sky Dome or Rogers Center, whatever the fuck it's called now, was like empty. So the Toronto Star, like the big local newspaper, would give away these season tickets. You got one seat up in the nosebleeds to every single home game, and it cost you $50. And they started filling out the stadium because people would just go. Like I would just go for a couple innings, have a really expensive beer, and like go home by the 4th inning. Don't give a shit about baseball, but it was just like a nice venue to be in. And then it started like selling out. And then the next year they're like, okay, well, you can't buy individuals. You have to be registered and you can buy a pack of 10. So we all got 10 seats. So we could all sit together because then it was assigned seating. Whereas the previous year it was like first come, first serve in that section. And then the year after that, they're like, well, now you can only buy a maximum of 2. And the only people that can buy these passes are who registered from last year. Well, one person bought 10 tickets. So now 8 of us can't get these passes anymore. And then they got more expensive. And then they just got rid of them because the Jays started getting just really popular. So the last couple of years, the Jays have been huge in Toronto and because they've been playing really well. And this year was absolutely insane because they made it to Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Bills are the same way.
I was just going to say that's what's happening here with the new stadium. They're pricing out lifelong season ticket holders. Like it's actually really sad to see. But I do have a confession that I didn't share with you guys. So the day that this
You hate the Bills. No!
the day that this movie was released, our family was taking pictures on the field at the stadium.
Oh my God, you're the family at the end of this.
So wait, was there like a photographer and you could do like a fundraiser or something
No,
with this?
I had no idea that was the premise of the movie. Like they have to have this picture at the stadium. But because it is the last year of the stadium, my father-in-law really wanted a family photo on the field because he's worked at this stadium for 30 years. So it was pretty funny. We took the pictures. I sent a bunch to my friends. That my friend Katie was watching the movie that night. She's like, she sends a clip of the movie. She's like,
no.
Sarah, it's literally your family. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I love this. I love this so much. Do you have someone in your family who is the VP of Stadium Development and he's in love with a doctor who's oblivious as hell?
Not that I know of, but time will tell.
You never know. Time will tell. All right. With that being said, I want to talk about what we ship the most, but just because I know y'all, this was your first Hallmark film, I would also love to know what you hated the most about this movie. So what did you ship? What did you hate about Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story? Meg. Kick us off.
I love the tie-in. Like, the reason that I said, what do you think about doing this movie, was because of the tie-in to the Bills. I wasn't like, oh, let me go print out the Hallmark calendar and see which one we want to do. You know, last year we did Meet Me Next Christmas because you were in it as a background actor, so that made a lot of sense. And I was like, we should do something else like that, sort of keep the tradition alive. Apparently I'm big into podcast holiday traditions. I
love it for us.
You know, you kind of want to have a cadence to a podcast, and so this sort of made sense. And you know, we talk so much about the or the Hallmark experience, and so I want to do that. And I think the thing that I liked was the tie-in to the Bills because of that. And maybe it's because you and I live on opposite sides of Buffalo, and so we had different experiences. But like, I wasn't like, let me go watch a Hallmark movie. It was like, let me see what they do with the Bills fandom, with the Bills players, with the Bills coaches. Like, I wanted to see how the integration worked. So I think that was my favorite part of it. And then all of this, like, let's go find this Christmas ornament serial number, I was like, no, get me back to the actual reason that I watched this. You lost the premise, you lost the thread for me. But the Bills part I thought was fun.
Awesome. Sarah, what about you? What are you shipping and hating the most about this?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm shipping that bartender when he was like, wherever you found him, go there less. I loved that line, but that's why I thought there was gonna be some kind of connection there. But I also, as much, like, the thing I hated was the forced nature of all, like, the Buffalo references and just how I felt like they were beating over the head with that. But I think that's because I'm like, it's a little embarrassing because it's true. And so I did kind of love that nod to all of the things Buffalo. So I can't say I hate that. And also I have to say Deion Dawkins was one of the players in like the kids area of the hospital when they did that scene with DeMar. And he is as lovable and fun as he is in that scene. I was like, that is a legit like portrayal. Whereas like all the other players and like the coach McDermott, like, it felt a little forced. They did great. They did as well as they could.
Yeah, they're not actors.
But I was like, oh, Deion Dawkins, he actually looks like he's having fun, because he always looks like he's having fun.
Aw, I love that.
What about you, Nikki?
I love Joe Pantoliano. I thought he brought a lot of, like, sincerity for what was a really overwritten, typical of Hallmark script. Like, his moment when he was talking about how grateful he was that someone watched over his family while he was in Vietnam, even though as soon as he said we were in Vietnam, I had to pause it, and Jen was watching it for me. We're like, is he old enough to have been in Vietnam? And then we started doing the math. Right. We're like, okay, if he was drafted when he was 18, and if his character is the same age as the actor, then okay, if he was drafted, then yeah, he would have been in the war from like age 18 to 21, but he would have come in like near the end of it. So I had to do Vietnam math, but I did love his sincerity.
Nobody wants to do Vietnam math.
I loved his sincerity. I thought he was just like this really beautiful, sincere performance in the middle of everything. And I would also love to say, like, I love seeing Damar Hamlin there. Again, I'm not a huge football fan, but I remember very clearly watching the moment when he went down on the field and tracking his recovery. And then I think it was at like the ESPYs that year or some big sports award show when he brought the entire athletic team up on stage to thank them for keeping him alive. Like, it's actually making me a little teary. I love that story. So when he first popped up on screen, I kind of went, is that Damar Hamlin? And then I Googled like, who are the players? Because if they don't have a helmet and a jersey on, I got no idea who they are. And then it was like, oh, it was Damar Hamlin. I just thought that was really sweet. What did I hate the most? Morgan. Fuck her. She is oblivious. She is dumb. She is like, how the fuck is this woman a doctor? Like, Meg, you mentioned earlier this scene where she goes in on her day off to like help a patient, help distract a young girl so that she can get her blood drawn. The thing that immediately stood out to me in this, I'm like, they're tricking a child into receiving like a blood draw, because she goes in and sits on one side with this girl and has the girl like look at her and goes, tell me about the Bills. Why do you love the Bills? And you just see the nurse sneak in behind her and put a needle into her arm. I'm like, this is medical non-consent. It bothered me. It bothered me a lot. So Morgan and
also
that.
She was a doctor who never actually wore any scrubs, never actually did any medical treatment, because the hospital just kept giving her days off. But you know, when she did go in was to make the Christmas cards, that a doctor would not be the person who coordinates that at all.
How does she have that much time?
I literally wrote a book about a social worker who maybe would have had time for this. And even then, she had a full-time fucking job to do. But, you know, the pediatrician in the hospital, definitely the one who holds your hand for a blood draw. Not actually.
I love that this is the thing that we could not suspend our disbelief around. We're like, not the rest of it. But like, Morgan's not a real doctor.
We know this healthcare system.
This 30 30-something-year-old man is certainly the architect in charge of an entire football stadium. Yes,
Yeah.
I have no problems with this. However, this doctor did not doctor.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that is Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story. Before we go into the ending question of what we are shipping this week, the best touchdown and love story you could involve us in is heading on over to your podcast provider of choice, leaving us a rating, leaving us a review, subscribe. Even if you love listening in your browser or on Substack, if you want to head over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just click the subscribe or the follow button, and then you never have to go back there again. But one, it makes us feel good. Two, it helps other people find us, and we really appreciate if you could just take that time to do it. I know podcast hosts ask for it a lot, and it seems very annoying, but it is actually quite meaningful beyond anything. So thank you very much. All right, let's go into the question of what we are shipping this week. Sarah, what do you have for us?
I am shipping the Santa post office Lego set because it is 1,800 pieces and I want that done.
I do love
That's
a good one.
Commitment. Mm-hmm. Nikki, is that how big yours usually are?
I try to not do anything below 1,500 pieces. My ideal set is like 2,000. Like the Natural History Museum that I have back there, I think that was 5,000 plus pieces. Like that took a couple days to build, going
a couple
at
days.
pace. Yeah. Like I took it slowly. If I had sat down and done 10 hours straight, I could have done it one day, but I was trying to savor the moment. Mm-hmm. But I love the holiday seasonal sets. Like they're so cute.
Nikki, what are you shipping this week?
Faye Quinn does these really great holiday romances that she puts out like once a year that are kind of like loosely connected. So the latest one came out. It's called Snowy Skies and Puppy Eyes. Back to Belleville, book 1. And Faye Quinn is also just a phenomenal artist, and she does all her own cover art. So that was really fun. So this is pretty much involving, I'll say, a big, burly, quiet man named Joe, who just moved to this town, and he bought an apple orchard, and it's not really doing well. He doesn't really have a lot of money to fix up the orchard, fix up his house. And he meets Jason Harker, who's like this nosy, bit of a flamboyant man who like works at the grocery store, but it turns out, surprise, he's actually secretly mega rich. And he really just wants to be friends with Joe at first, and he realizes how tough it is for Joe to not have all this money. So he kind of sets up this secret Santa fund that he says to Joe, there is an anonymous benefactor who wants to just donate money, and they've chosen you. And then they get closer. It's just like a really sweet romance when you have like a really taciturn, closed off emotionally, big lumberjack apple orchard guy with like a kind of a flamboyant, secretly rich person who just wants to be his friend because he doesn't think he's gay at the beginning of the book. He kind of later kind of discovers, oh, I'm bisexual, and he's still really good friends with his ex-wife. And as soon as he kind of comes out to his ex-wife is like, yeah, I was waiting for you to figure this out about yourself. Like, I'm really happy for you. So it's just sweet. She writes like really nice holiday stories. Like the Christmas Daddies series was her first one. Which was, I think, 3 or 4 books.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the Christmas Daddies. Yeah, that was a trilogy that
was a great series. This is kind of follow-up to that. So if you like just kind of like sweet and spicy holiday tales, definitely recommend Snowy Skies and Puppy Eyes by Faye Quinn. It is on KU. And also just like Faye.
I just won.
Yeah, like follow Faye on their Patreon, on their Instagram, because their art is beautiful. And Faye does like a lot of art for other authors that we've talked about on the show. And her fan art is always 2 thumbs up fabulous. Miss Meg.
All right, I am moving out of the holiday recommendations. I'm going to This in Every Life by Emmy Saunders. It is one of, Emmy Saunders
is fabulous.
She has, just so good, right? But I think of her often in the cowboy space because she did Plum Valley, she did the new Montana series, but her standalones are also incredible too. So like I loved her To Catch a Firefly, I think it was called, where you had the selective mutism and you had that like long-standing friends to lovers. So this one showed up in my inbox, This in Every Life, and I was just like, oh, okay, I don't know what it is, but I'll download it because, we read authors, we don't necessarily read tropes. And it is four short stories that do not seem interconnected, except that all of them touch on the same awareness of a constellation and the story behind the constellation that is based in Greek mythology. And the ties between them, each of the short stories, they, like I said, they don't feel connected. The first one is, you know, a 17th century gay couple that is from different tiers of class society, and homosexuality is outlawed, and they get like driven out of town, and you're like, okay, where are you gonna go with this next, Emmy? And then you move forward 100 years, and it's one of the characters is trans, but like, what do you do when you're trans in the Regency, right? And then you jump forward another 100 years, and it's this couple where one of them is Arrow, and you're like, oh, well, that was unexpected and totally not the same as these other two stories before it. And then finally, the final story is a character who is sort of like an oracle or visionary and has the memories of all these previous characters because they're star-crossed lovers the whole way through, just showing up differently. And the thing that ties them together is this Greek mythology. And like, it shocked me that how well done it was when for the first two stories, I was like, but what does that one have to do with this one have to do? Like, how are these all connected? What's going on? But there's this feeling of this in every life, that these two star-crossed characters, they're going to change names. They're going to change the relationship to each other, their relationship to themselves. The way that society is pushing them is going to change the way that they show up. But this connection between them is just so integral to who they are that the rest of it doesn't matter. It's just this connection between them. It doesn't always have to be romantic, but these two people are meant to be together. And it's just like a very beautiful way to rethink romance. So highly recommend that. That's
I just looked it up and I totally forgot I had also read that, and it was complex but really interesting. Yeah, the different types of love I thought was really good. I might have to reread that one too, even though I just, according to my Kindle, I read it on October 25th, so it has not been that long.
Well, because I think probably it was the short stories, so they sort of be fragmented in your mind as, oh, I remember that part. But then if you were to go back and read it, it'd be like, oh right, this, you know, because it all sort of came together in that final act.
I love it. Okay, well, that is it for today's holiday show about Holiday Touchdown, a Bill's love story. A few gentle reminders before we say goodbye. Follow us on social media. We are at First Dates and Soulmates on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. You can email us at firstdatesandsoulmatespod@gmail.com. We always love to hear from you. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Check out firstdatesandsoulmates.com, Meg's most excellent website. We have a quiz there. Don't you love a quiz? We do love a quiz. It's going to help you find your romance trope of choice. And if you do have a little bit of money that you want to share with us, we do have merch. You can get that link in the show notes, or you can subscribe to the show on Substack. Do it for 1 month. Do it for many months. We just love that, you can hang out with us and support us. But the best thing you can do is just continue listening, share us with a friend, bring other people into our universe. We always appreciate it. Coming up next week, we are back for our third Heated Rivalry episode. We're going to be closing out the season on episodes 5 and 6 and just kind of recapping the season of the show. And I'm going to still try not to read the book because now I'm at a point where I really want to read the books, but I've said I'm not going to. We're going to see if
Don't do it, Nikki.
You're going to see if I actually
Don't you dare hate read those because...
I'm not going to hate read it. I just really want to know what happens, and I don't like waiting. I'm very impatient. That's fine. I'm going to do my best. All right. That's
or
it
you could
for
read
us.
it and just forget about it a month later.
There you go. That actually might happen
good
since
point.
it's not going to come out for another month. Amazing. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today and bringing your Buffalo vibes to the show. We very much appreciate it. And we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.